Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we are going to have a great discussion today. So please join me in welcoming Elliot Kallen to our program today. Welcome, Elliot. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Deb, thanks for having me on.
Great. We really are going to have a fantastic discussion. But let me tell folks a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into it. So Elliot Kallen has been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. And like many business owners, he has experienced his fair share of hardships. In 2015, during a critical phase in his business building journey, Elliot's 19-year-old youngest son, Jake, committed suicide, an obviously devastating event that coincided with the challenges of growing his venture. Despite this tragic loss, he persevered and continued to scale and keep his business running. Elliot, who also founded 4 businesses, was also forced to sell one of them because it was cash-strapped. From these and other setbacks, he has emerged stronger and gained priceless insights in overcoming adversity in business and life, which he enthusiastically shares with other entrepreneurs. Among the organizations Elliot started are Prosperity Financial Group, an esteemed investment advisory firm that manages over $300 million in assets. He also founded A Brighter Day, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing scholarship funds and mental health resources. It's in honor of his son. If that wasn't enough, he's also an author and a podcaster. So again, Elliot, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'll correct you on one thing.
Okay.
I've started now businesses 3 and 4 and foundation number 1.
Okay.
So 3 entities now. And if you take my 2 financial advisory firms, we've crossed the $1 billion mark.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Oh my gosh.
That's pretty amazing.
I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, I am very sorry to hear about your son. I'm not a parent, so I cannot imagine what you had gone through. And I also know sometimes people don't ever want to say anything, but that means he didn't exist. And so I'm very sorry to hear that happened.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we'll talk about A Brighter Day because I love the concept. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you've had quite the career. So tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today.
So thank you. And this is great. You've got a great audience here, of people that are interested in stories and business and growth and personal growth and so forth. And, I live in a world where so many business owners are myopic and they've got one thing going in their life. And my dad was a Depression era person. He came out of that world of work is life and life is work. And he missed a lot about family because he was busy working.
Those are my parents. Yep.
Yeah, there's a different mentality, and our children. We can even argue that the next generation has no work ethic, but that's a conversation.
That's a next podcast.
So I started this business in '93. I moved to California with my wife. She was pregnant with our twins at that time, and we had Jake who came after that. And I had already scoped out, because I was leaving the environmental cleanup business and selling it. I had already scoped out that I wanted to get into this business. Started. Kind of run it like an accounting firm. That's not how it turned out at all, but that was my original vision. And I came out here and I met a gentleman who was from the Bronx, who's talked like me. We talk, we walk, we say coffee and things like that. And he interviewed me at Lincoln for 8 hours.
Wow.
With the chairman, with the president, and on the spot said, would you like to build a business division for us? And we did that, and that turned into Prosperity Financial Group, which is my primary company at $530 or so million in assets. And we've been doing that, and then maybe 15 years later, we added a national company, Prosperity Wealth Management, another $500 million company. And then, like I said, we started that company, the foundation following my son's, about a year after my son's death, so it's 9 years old. We are touching so many lives, which is what I love, because what you've got going for you, Deb, is you've got passion and you've got empathy, and you are enabling yourself and business owners to move forward with that passion and with that heart. And that's where I come from. I'm not a stoic, hard right brain. I'm not sure that right brain, left brain. I'm not in the hard right quadrant.
That's it.
As a driver. I'm what's called an amiable driver, amicable driver, whatever that means. I'm still a driver, or I wouldn't do what I did. But I have the people skills to say, what can we do in life that's more than just work? What's important to you? Let's find things that are important to you. Let's find your passion, because the average retiree spends 6 hours a day watching TV.
Ugh.
That's not a good business plan. I've talked to some that watch TV up to 18, 16 hours a day, whatever they do. It's never off. It's on CNN or Fox Business.
Oh, so that's healthy.
Yeah. And so they're watching news, and I get their emails. Did you hear what just happened? Did you hear what just happened? And I know by what they're saying to me if they're watching Fox or CNN.
Right. Yeah. Which side it's on.
Yeah. They're watching people that agree with them, which is even worse, because then you really get my
you don't think.
Right. But in business, I love what I do, and I've been able to do it well. And then add to that another passion. Now we're even talking about in 2026, we're going to start another company, because it's time for me to start another company.
Because you're bored. You're not doing anything.
I'm going to take my passions as a human being, which are great food and great wine and great cooking and great travel, and I'm going to put them into a business. So I'm going to take my avocations and make them my new vocations, and start businesses that do just that, online subscription service. So when you interview me a year from now,
which we will. Right. And I love this because, I'm certain you will never retire. And I'm putting that in my little air quotes, right? You might not be doing business, but you will still be doing. And I think that's the thing, so that we're not stuck in front of the TV. My husband retired last year. He was able to retire at 62. And one of the things he said was he will never be the person who just sits in front of the TV. And I think he's busier now than when he was working.
Well, I hope your husband is busy. I'm going to laugh with your husband for a moment, because I think what a lot of retirees do, I know you got 35 things you've not have time to do. So now you have
that to-do list.
I get that. And then you've got the honey-do list. When he's done with his list, you got your list. And then somewhere along the line, he wants to do something that's kind of fun, whether it's walking or going to the gym or playing golf or whatever he's doing that too. I find that retirees take longer to do what used to take an hour takes a day. I'm exaggerating a little bit on that.
Right, but close.
What used to take a day, in the afternoon to clean up the backyard is all week. So it does take longer because they're also distracted more.
Right.
They're stopping inside for a lemonade and vodka or beer.
And then they need a nap.
Yeah, taking a nap in the middle of days. So those are really good things to do. When I'm advising a retiree, I have to tell you, in my business, and I speak to a lot of 60-year-old people that are thinking about retirement.
Right.
I always tell them, what do you love? Not what do you like? So here's my story, Deb. If you got a moment, I'd like to tell you
this. Of course, yes.
10 years ago, and I'm 67, and I'm never going to retire. I will sell my company one day, but I'm just start something different, like I said, or my companies. And I'll even sell my foundation one day, or I'll give it away. I would never sell that. I asked my wife about 10 years ago. I said, I advise people all the time in retirement of how to live their retirement so they're not on a TV, like we're talking about. So I want to do that exercise with you. And she said, okay, let's do it. I said, let's make a list of what we love, and let's make a list of what we like.
Okay.
So it turns out we loved collecting wine. I have 1,000-bottle wine tasting room.
Whoa.
Big Reds from Northern California is my favorite. I have other things too, but it's Big Reds. I'm not a French collector. I'm not an Italian collector. I'm an American.
And they're pretentious.
Yeah. And I know a lot about Cabernets and Zinfandels. So I'm not a wine snob. I just know a lot about a narrow.
Right.
I'm an
you
inch
know
wide,
what you like.
Right. I'm an inch wide and a mile deep. Then we love great food. I love to cook. I come home. I put everything down. I leave my work at work, and I take over in the kitchen. My wife
Mhm.
lets me do that. She's very creative. She knows I'm going to do creative, and I'm going to try to
Mhm.
make something that's just really good.
Mhm.
Been working for the last year, 2 years on how things look, not just how they taste,
Ah.
and having people come over and making food quality
Mhm.
that you would look at that and it's
Mhm.
television quality food,
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I love doing that.
Right.
And
You're
then we look at
creating art.
I'm sorry.
You're creating art.
I am. And I'm trying to be an artist. And
Mhm.
I have to tell you that my wife is my biggest critic and supporter, but she's my
Mhm.
biggest critic.
Mhm.
And I don't always win the game when I do this.
Mhm.
Sometimes she's just a little harsh on me in that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then we love to travel. I lived part of my life in Europe, in Geneva, Switzerland,
Mhm.
for a time with my mother, who
Mhm.
was European.
Mhm.
And so she tried to teach her children, her boys, to become international attorneys so they could travel all around the world
Wow.
doing
Mhm.
contracts. It didn't work. My brother became an attorney. My sister became an attorney. I became a businessman.
Mhm.
Now I want to become a businessman who travels a lot.
Mhm.
Uh, it's great. I love that. We're passionate about
Mhm.
travel. It's obvious. My wife really never left her home state when she was growing up.
Mhm.
She was married. We're both on second marriages. She
Mhm.
was married to a man that didn't really like her that
Mhm.
much, so
Mhm.
didn't want to travel with her. Maybe to
Mhm.
Hawaii a little bit, but that was it.
Mhm.
So with me, when we plan things out, she just says, "Go do it, and I'll love it. Don't worry about a thing."
See, that's what I say. Mhm.
You are a tour
Mhm.
guide. You set it
Mhm.
up. I'll never complain because you do
Mhm.
it. And we
Mhm.
know something always blows up on your
Mhm.
vacation. You drive too much. You don't drive enough.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we do that. We belong to a country club. We
Mhm.
talked about that. We
Mhm.
like golf.
Mhm.
We've been able to say we like golf. We don't
Ah.
love golf, which
Mhm.
means if I had to get rid of golf, we could live with that.
Mhm. Right.
We love going to the gym.
Mhm. Good
We're
for
workout
you.
fiends.
Mhm.
Don't let this body fool you. We actually go and work out. We both go there. She gets
Mhm.
a little bored faster than I do,
Mhm.
but I love going there. I can't
Mhm.
work out at home. I need the social atmosphere of the
Okay.
gym.
Okay. Mhm.
So that's going to be in our lives.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
take walks. I like walking. She
Mhm.
loves walking,
Mhm.
but I go with her. But
Mhm.
I got to exercise somewhere that's outside of that and it clears your
Mhm.
head.
Mhm.
So that's the exercise that we did. So
Mhm.
now I said to her, why can't we do this
Mhm.
when we're in good shape and
Right.
still working and
Mhm.
live these passions? And
Mhm.
that's what we do.
Mhm.
We travel a ton. We eat great food. We
Mhm.
make great food.
Mhm.
I made for her steak tartare the other day. We went through France eating salmon and steak tartare.
Oh.
So I
Oh.
make steak tartare for
Mhm.
her, and we make it into a French night, or
Mhm.
sometimes it's an Italian night, but mostly it's a
Mhm.
French night
With your
because
California wine.
always California. And so we do these,
Mhm.
and we have these passions. We don't eat a lot
Mhm.
of red meat at home, but
Mhm.
I'll
Right.
make steak tart.
Mhm.
What's really good is my stepdaughter lives with us, and my grandson, and they
Mhm.
won't come near steak tartare. So I can make
Mhm.
as much as I want,
Mhm.
and we'll eat it. They'll
Mhm.
mooch my other food, but not that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's what we do in living our
Mhm.
lives. And when I talk to people, I talked about living your passion. And the
Mhm.
one thing that is so great about you and your show,
Mhm.
it exudes passion, exudes not just fortitude
Mhm.
and tenacity
Mhm.
that business owners have to
Mhm.
have, but it turns them into the passions of life.
Mhm.
And
Right.
when you're living your passion,
Mhm.
you're not really working,
Mhm.
you're enjoying it.
Right. And I mean, we've done over 1,000 episodes, and there have been maybe two where I was done and I thought, the rest of the time, I loved my guests, and I almost always invite them on again, which of course we will because you're doing something next year, so we need to have you on again. But that it's great to know what they do and why they do it. But I want to know the passion. Why do they do that? What is their why, right? The Simon Sinek thing. What is your why? And I don't want to just know, okay, well, I do this, 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 this. I want to know what gets them going. What makes them think it's Monday as opposed to right? And with everything, there are things about it that we don't like. I've got to do month-end reports. Right? I don't like doing that. Pretty soon AI is going to do it for me, and that's going to be fabulous, right? But yeah, it's but because I do those, then I'm able to do the other things that I'm really passionate about. And so many times we see people, and I'm sure especially are seeing people who are nearing the next phase of their life, and they don't know what they're going to do. They really, and first of all, they might not know how they're going to finance it. So that's a totally scary thing. But they really don't know what it is that's going to make them get off that couch and stop watching TV.
Well, let me, it's a great question to ask. If I go back to the beginning of your
Uh-huh.
question, where are my passions?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I go to work every day?
Mm-hmm.
Can I address those for
Yes,
you?
most definitely. What is
Because
your why? Mm-hmm.
the why. And I think I'm as normal as the average person there or
Mm-hmm.
the average business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of myself as extraordinary. I know what other people think of me, and most people have a better opinion of me than I do.
We're hardest on ourselves. We know
Hardest
that.
on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm very fortunate to have two parents that were very loving.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in a really small house
Mm-hmm.
in northern New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew it was small until I went back in college to
Ah,
visit parents and realized
and
how
then you were
small.
amazed how small it was,
It
right?
it was 1,600 square feet with five people of us and one
Mm-hmm.
bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And we survived.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was the youngest,
Mm-hmm.
which meant I had to wait till everybody got
You were
out of
at
the
the end of
bathroom.
the line.
And we had a hot water heater that water wasn't always hot by the time I got in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it was, and who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my father was the part of the greatest generation, World War II
Mm-hmm. Right.
generation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And for him, because of that depression had such an impact on
Mm-hmm.
him and losing people in World War
Mm-hmm.
II, friends and so forth, that his attitude, his one message to me, and he's gone 38 years already. So my mother's gone 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
his little message to me on my shoulder, little voice, I call my parents my schizophrenic voices on my shoulders. So the
I
voice
have
from my
those.
dad,
Mm-hmm.
the voice from my dad is you can never make up for hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My mother was an Auschwitz survivor.
Mm-hmm.
She was from Austria. She got
Mm-hmm.
caught up in being in the wrong places at the wrong time and
Mm-hmm.
went to Theresienstadt and then Auschwitz, liberated by the Russians and so forth. And her message to her children was you could always do better today than yesterday, and you could always do better today than tomorrow than today.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come to work every day,
Mm-hmm.
I know I want to work hard. I
Mm-hmm.
usually am the first one here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I could do better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to strive for it.
Right. It's
And
like
I would do that
perfection.
every
We
day.
are not going to be perfect.
I don't demand
Mm-hmm.
perfection from myself. That's
Mm-hmm.
good because you'll always be disappointed if you
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
What I demand is try to do better.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Think,
Mm-hmm.
give thought. Did you learn today
Mm-hmm.
from yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
or are you just going to doomed to make the same mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
And I know the history repeats itself. Phrase everybody knows. It also affects you personally.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do things better.
Mm-hmm.
So with those voices in mind, I come to work with my financial company
Mm-hmm.
with the idea that helping people have a better life
Mm-hmm.
in their retirement or in the work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
To be passionate about their money because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're setting and forgetting it, but we can help them double it and
Mm-hmm.
triple it and
Right.
have it meet their goals. And then we can
Mm-hmm.
talk about their life goals
Mm-hmm.
and their financial goals and their personal goals
Mm-hmm.
and cross over with just money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do with the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
If I could talk about the charity for a moment,
Yes. Oh, yes. Which again is called A Brighter Day.
A Brighter Day at a brighterday.info.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different passion,
Mm-hmm.
totally different passion.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be.
Right.
I started that because my son, we received, we were frantically looking for him because his phone was turned off on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
A Federal Express showed up at 6:30 at night with a 6-page suicide note.
Wow.
He'd been dead already for 17, 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He was a John Doe.
Mm-hmm.
And the first paragraph was the most important paragraph, but a lot of it was rambling.
Mm-hmm.
Teens ramble when they write.
Mm-hmm.
But his comment was, Mom and Dad, I've been thinking about this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have told you how I felt. I never would have taken your help. Okay, that was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned to his mom with his body under the plane on the way home from Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, we've got to stop this devastation and destruction that we're about to go through
Right.
to happen to other families.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we started the foundation with the premise of doing that. And today we create resources for teens and their families with the goal of stopping teen suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And we touch almost 3,000 families a month.
Wow.
Amazing. And we just went through our back room for our our website that picks up messages.
Mhm.
We hadn't gone to it for a little while, and there were 150 or so texts, actually messages from teens and families,
Mhm.
150
Mhm.
that said, "Thank you for saving my life.
Mhm.
Thank you for saving my child's life.
Mhm.
Thank you for this incredible selfless information." And that's what should give people shivers,
Mhm. It
that we
does.
are
Mhm.
saving lives. And,
Mhm.
I love giving you a better retirement and passionate about your money, but boy, saving a life kind of
Mhm.
tops that.
Oh,
So,
every time. Mhm.
yeah. And so
Mhm.
I come to work with both those
Mhm.
passions of, okay, I
Mhm.
am changing lives today
Mhm.
and I am saving lives for
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Mhm.
How do I do better with it?
Right.
That's the why.
Mhm.
And so if you could find that why, and it's not just a widget that you're creating,
Mhm.
and who cares?
Mhm.
Maybe that why isn't as passionate as mine is.
Mhm.
Maybe that why is I'm trying to create
Mhm.
a better future for my family.
Mhm.
That's an okay why.
That's fine. Yep. Mhm.
And but I would tell you that if that person was in front of me, to define that picture.
Mhm.
So every time we get together, we can review that picture,
Mhm.
make sure you're still on track.
Mhm. Right. And so many people wait, right? I'll do it someday, whether it's travel, whether it's, whatever it is. And I've had health issues, some fairly major health issues. And what I learned from that is don't put stuff off, right? I don't want my headstone to read, I wish I would have. And so, and that's what I tell people, it phooey on bucket lists, right? Because your bucket list, you tend to think I'll do it at some point. And I remember I had one person who told me, she said, I want to travel around the world, much like you said. And she said, but I can't afford it. And I said, okay, let's talk about other things that you could be doing right now because, maybe you can save and do it at some point. I said, there are museums. There are, all these other ways. I mean, even maybe it's food, right? You're gonna go to all these different restaurants and experience the food from those other countries. There's so many other ways to be doing some of these things as opposed to just, I want to go and travel there. Or worse, thinking I can never do it, so I'm just not even going to think about it.
Well, you bring up a good point, and that is, if can you afford your own passions?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the answer is yes. You
Right.
just have to modify what they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't afford to travel
Mm-hmm.
because you're on a budget, it's
Right.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe a small RV should be in your life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And maybe, I have a client, I talked to him yesterday. He's retired.
Mm-hmm.
He's only 61.
Mm-hmm.
That means he's got 20, 30 years of
Mm-hmm.
life. Except he
Mm-hmm.
got at 55, he became a diabetic. And he also knows the statistics
Mm-hmm.
of
Right.
diabetes and that
Mm-hmm.
heart attack. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's a horrible disease to have
Mm-hmm.
diabetes. And it's kept, my dad had it, and
Mm-hmm.
it eats you up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they retired because he did that.
Mm-hmm.
They got an RV. They didn't get a $200,000 RV.
Right. Who
They
needs
ended up
that?
getting a $35,000 used
Mm-hmm.
RV.
Mm-hmm.
They travel,
Mm-hmm.
and they moved from California, which was
Mm-hmm.
unaffordable to them, to
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, inland
Mm-hmm.
in North Carolina, which
Mm-hmm.
is very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the coast, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
in Raleigh, Durham.
Mm-hmm.
It's affordable.
Mm-hmm.
They compromised their life a little
Mm-hmm.
bit to have a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Right.
they travel when
Mm-hmm.
the weather is right. They get in that
Mm-hmm.
RV, and they got the grandchildren sometimes
Mm-hmm.
with them, and they travel. They say
Mm-hmm.
to the grandchildren, "Today we're going for the next week. We're going, or next 3 days. We're
Mm-hmm.
taking our grandchildren
Mm-hmm.
to the national parks."
Mm-hmm.
And that is about as affordable as you can
Ah,
do.
and how much fun is that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Right.
you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to
Mm-hmm.
London to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
British, whatever you
Mm-hmm.
enjoy.
Right.
Um, I'm going to say, I ran into Tony Anthony Bourdain
Mm-hmm.
who passed away,
Mm-hmm.
committed suicide.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he had massive demons inside of him, alcohol and heroin
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. And I don't want to distaste his name
Mm-hmm.
because he's probably he was a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
human being. And he's from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran into him at the Oakland airport. I had just come back for celebrating
Mm-hmm.
my birthday in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided, there were 20 of us that descended on New York. I'm from the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
All of us are from the Northeast that
Mm-hmm.
descended on New York. And we decided to make every meal a theme.
Okay.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner became a
Mm-hmm.
theme. It was Jewish deli theme.
Mm-hmm.
It was Italian dinner theme. It
Mm-hmm.
was Greek theme. It was a White Castle luncheon,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so when I was in the airport and I was telling somebody who missed it very passionately and way too loud about this incredible 3 days that all of us just had in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize he was sitting 4 feet from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I hung up the phone and I apologized to him for being so loud and being an obnoxious New Yorker. And he said, no, 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 no. Do you know who I am? And he reminded me who he was. And we had a great time. And he asked me such an important question that affects people that are trying to make it work. And he said, I want to ask you a question. How come the best Chinese food is not in Beijing, but it's in New York City? How come the best Italian food is not in Rome, it's in New York City? How come the best Greek food is not in Athens, it's in New York City, and so forth and so on? He said, tell me why, and don't tell me it's the water. And I thought about it for a moment. I did not have an answer. And he said, I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why it's the best. And I travel all around the world.
Right. He
Some of
would.
the craziest food there is. One is, and the most important, is the freshest ingredients on earth are in New York City.
Right.
And they're not in Rome. And they're not in Beijing. And number 2 is if you don't put a good product on a plate at a reasonable price for whatever your market is, could be a high market, could be a low market,
right.
then you will be out of business inside of a year.
Right. So you have got to be exceptional with what you're doing.
So you don't have to go to Italy because you think you love Italian food. You can go to New York and eat your way through New York as we did that weekend. Right. And New York has incredible sites that aren't that expensive.
Right.
Like the Empire State Building as it was redone. There are places you can go and have a great life and have great travel or see the Rockies and see the Tetons, whatever it is, and live an incredible passion and open up a terrific mid-priced bottle of wine and enjoy French Bordeaux, if that's your thing, while sitting in the Grand Tetons. And that's great travel.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is that people have got to expand their thinking, right? Instead of thinking, the only thing I will settle for is to go to Europe, to think about what else can I do? And there are so many opportunities, and most of our listeners are here in the States, but we do have a lot of international. But it's what can we do? The good old staycation type of things, right? I live. So I am a Colorado native. Lived there until 2013, and then we moved here to Atlanta. And one of the things that we realized, and my husband is the same. He's a Colorado native. There were so many things in Colorado that we never did because we lived there, right? I had never been up Pikes Peak. It wasn't until we went back for a visit that I went up Pikes Peak. And so we've made a point of doing things here in Atlanta, and some of them are just, day type of things, or maybe it's a weekend or, something longer of seeing our local area. And again, it can be inexpensive. It can be more expensive. Maybe you want to stay in a resort or whatever, you're wanting to do, but just think about what can you do with the resources that you have?
Yeah, you're saying it perfectly. I don't think I can improve upon it. Living your life with passion does not have to be expensive.
Right. And it's funny because when I look at the expensive, and I've done some of that, it's like, really not so much. So we just got back several weeks ago from a cruise to Alaska. Now it was our second cruise that we had done to Alaska. And we've kind of gotten tied into what's known as small boat cruising. So it's a company here called American Cruise Lines, and they only do small boats, and they only do things like rivers, like Mississippi River, Columbia River, things like that. But there were 150 people on this boat plus 50-ish crew. So this is a small boat. It was obviously, price-wise, it was about the same as one of the big type of ships. But we got to know every single person on board, pretty close, right? The boat could go places that the big ships could not go. So we got to see things that people couldn't, were not able to see if they were on the, and we saw one of the big 4,000 person boats, right? It was like, holy cow. And it was my mother who got us into doing those. And she took us on 3 of those cruises. And, we decided that we didn't like the whole big, because we've done a princess cruise, right? And that's got the 900 different restaurants and all of those various things. That was nice. We did it once, and we were able to say we did it once. But we love the intimacy of doing something smaller. So the same thing applies. Maybe as opposed to doing something big and grandiose, a picnic, right? Maybe a picnic with your favorite French food items, and you're going to go sit watch ducks. That could be the best thing in the world. Mm-hmm.
You are a loving life person, which is fabulous. You and your husband and cruising. It's funny. So cruising, if I could tell you a cute story about that. My wife is like you. Her family liked to cruise, so she went with her mom and her sisters. She's number 2 in a line of 7 kids, and so they would cruise, and they would cruise from Florida to the Caribbean. So these are inexpensive cruises, and some of them were big cruise ships, and some of them were medium. I've heard not the bottom ones, the small ones have been amazing. And Ritz-Carlton just came up with a small cruise ship where where you have 150 or 200 people on there, and 400 people work there. It's amazing. You're getting 2 people, a personal butler.
Oh, that'd be fun.
There's a price now for everything.
Right.
When you're on those. So my wife has been trying to get me on a cruise ship for a long time. And one day she was just pounding me to get on a cruise ship. I have never stepped foot on one, by the way. I'm not anti-cruise. I've just never.
It's just not your thing.
Not my thing. I do all my own booking. I do all my travel agent work. And I use Viator Tours, which is now owned by Trip Travel, whatever it's called. It's amazing. Viator Tours, but I've had great success. And I'm not trying to plug them. I just had great success with them. TripAdvisor owns them, excuse me. And so it was a Saturday morning, and she just kind of was pounding me to go cruising, and her sister had just done a cruise and so forth. So I went to the gym, and I'm in a men's locker room, and it's the kind of men's locker room where a lot of old men, are walking around kind of naked or semi-naked. And
you're like,
kind of old-fashioned.
Right.
And so I finished my workout. I'm in front of a small mirror, a 2-person mirror. It's where the blow dryers are, and most people are standing there stark naked. I'm stark naked, and I'm telling this guy, you can imagine this, a bunch of naked men, and I'm telling this guy about this argument that I just had with my wife a couple hours ago about cruising, and this 80-year-old man comes up to me, and I'm 65 about that, and he's kind of gets in my face at 80, and he points his finger at me, and he goes, "Are your legs broken?" I said, "What?" He said, "Are your legs broken? Do they work?" I said, "Well, of course they work."
Yeah, I'm at the gym.
When they stop working and you have a walker or a wheelchair, that's when you get on a cruise ship.
I like that.
And so I laughed a little. I said, "Okay, end of discussion." I told my wife what he said, and she's like, "Okay, I won't bother you." But there are cruise ships for people like you that are active and want to meet people and have fun, and there are cruise ships for people that there are 40 people in front of the room with walkers. So for people who like to cruise, you just got to find out what works.
Right. Oh yeah. And like we said, for some people, they don't want to do that. That is not their idea. One of the things I told people I like about it is I unpack once. But I've always been a traveler. I'm an only child, and my dad worked for the state of Colorado, and my mom kind of did a variety of part-time jobs because it was very important to her to be able to do, things with me. Right. But we always went on about a month-long vacation every year. Dad had worked enough that, he had that much time that he could take off. And so they had a small camper trailer that they pulled behind their Jeep. We had, several different Jeeps through the years, but we would go to Yellowstone. We would go to Glacier. We'd go into Canada and go to Banff, and we would park that trailer and stay for a month. Now, as a 16-year-old, that was not really thrilling, but I read a lot. I made friends with the other 16-year-olds whose parents had made them come, but it made me appreciate going and doing. And it was not, they certainly were not spending a ton of money to do it, but it was so much, it was so enjoyable. And I really realized how much I missed it when I was too old to do it. I had moved away from home, right? And they, they didn't really do it too much after that because they had aged. But it was just something that was kind of a good thing to do. I enjoyed it. And so, I'm very fortunate that my husband, now he's one of 9 and they did not travel. It was just they really couldn't. And so but now he really enjoys traveling. And so it is one of the things that we have thought about, as I mentioned, after he retired. My mother passed away last year. I'm an only child, and so I inherited everything. And so we have decided that because everything is okay, right, from a financial perspective, the money I got from her is our fun money.
Good for you.
And so that's how we went on the cruise to Alaska, and we
Good
took
for
my
you.
aunt and uncle because they had been her caregiver. And so, it's going to we'll get a couple more trips out of it before it has run
Good.
out. But I also know that wherever she is looking down, she loves that because, we're doing something that she loved to do and we're using her money to do it. So she still thinks she's in charge.
What it finds, Deb, when you think about living life with purpose and living
Mhm,
life with passion.
mhm,
My mother used to have a great phrase.
mhm,
She grew up in Vienna. It's a
mhm,
German phrase, but
mhm,
in English it translates to if the blanket's too short, pull up your feet.
mhm.
And
Make do.
just make it happen.
Mhm,
So the idea is
mhm,
you don't need to jump out of bed and be
mhm.
cold. Just live your life
Right.
and find a way to
Mhm,
make your life fit
right.
in
Mhm,
or
mhm,
change your life.
mhm,
And then you can
mhm.
find a way to get it to
Right.
fit in.
Right.
But do something that's much more than mowing the
Mhm,
lawn as your biggest
mhm,
excitement in life.
mhm. Right. Right. And when I read your bio, we talked about the fact that things haven't always gone the way that you wanted them to go. And so you've had to be resilient. Somehow I've gotten tied into a high school in Pakistan, and I get interviewed by students there a couple times a week. It's the most fun thing. These kids are smart kids. But I did an interview earlier this morning, and one of them said, I need you to define what you mean is resiliency. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you say, what is resilience to you?
Well, that's a great question, Deb. Um, and I could tell a story about that, but I'll
Mm-hmm,
give you the shorter version of this. Because I had a business, I've had 2 businesses before I had
mm-hmm,
started this. The first one I sold because I grew it so much, I was running out of cash. And so I couldn't understand that. I was
mm-hmm,
too young to understand that, a little bit
mm-hmm,
immature to understand that in my 20s.
mm-hmm,
The second business, the market changed and I sold it,
mm-hmm,
but I made money on that
mm-hmm,
sale. So I think there's one of the Rocky in the movies, in the Rocky series.
mm-hmm,
I think Rocky Sylvester Stallone is talking to his son. It's actually his real son in the movie,
mm-hmm,
and who has since died of I think a heroin overdose.
mm-hmm,
But he's talking to his son as a character, and he says, "It's not how many times you get knocked down;
mm-hmm.
it's how many times you get back up."
Right.
It's boxing
Mm-hmm,
vernacular, and I think that's life. I
mm-hmm,
wrote a book. It's over my left shoulder called Driven.
mm-hmm,
You know, because I was motivated to write this, and it's an Amazon bestseller. You can get it,
mm-hmm,
Driven by Elliot Kallen on
mm-hmm,
Amazon. There's my plug. Thank you. Um, and I'm happy to sign anybody's book.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I wrote that because it's the anti-Mark Zuckerberg book. So Mark
Mm-hmm,
Zuckerberg started, he didn't mean to, it was an accidental start, but he did start Facebook in college.
mm-hmm,
And 5, 6, 7 years later, he's a billionaire.
mm-hmm.
And there's so many people that start thinking, in 5 years, I'm gonna be Mark
Mm-hmm.
Zuckerberg, a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But for most people in life, that's not how life works.
No.
And that's not how my life worked.
Mm-hmm,
And I'm on my second marriage. It was a long-term first marriage, long-term
mm-hmm,
second marriage. And I'm very fortunate, very blessed
mm-hmm,
to have a wife that's very supportive in my second marriage and not talking about my 3 divorces like some of my friends are talking about.
mm-hmm,
Um, but my life has been a zigzag of
mm-hmm.
success and failures. And I'm going to say entrepreneurs don't never fail. So I don't say that word.
Right.
We just have painful learning lessons.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But it's forward, it's up, it's back, it's down,
mm-hmm,
it's back up.
Mhm.
And today I'm probably at one of the highest spots I've ever been in my life.
Mm.
You know, I'm going to knock on wood, knock on my computer
Mhm.
screen, whatever it is. But I've learned from those lessons. And
Mhm.
most people have these lessons,
Mhm.
and they're going to have zigzags in
Mhm.
their life, including I had a major zigzag because I'm running a business, just buying my partner out.
Mhm.
3 weeks after buying my partner out, my son takes his life,
Mhm.
and I couldn't even function at work for like two
Right.
months.
You couldn't breathe.
I stared at my computer
Mhm.
screen, which still is today, a screensaver with
Mhm.
his picture on it.
Mhm.
Couldn't take it off. My kids told
Mhm.
me, Dad, leave it up there because if you don't leave it up, you just think about how you took it off.
Right. Mhm.
And so it is a screensaver. Um, so I think about him every day.
Mhm.
But I moved. I don't want to say I moved on. You move
Forward. Mhm.
forward, and you dust yourself off,
Mhm.
and you create some level of success.
Mhm.
Can't fix what was. You
Mhm.
can't change what was, no matter how
Mhm.
much counseling or what you try to
Mhm.
do. You just can adapt to what is in the
Mhm.
world today and be present and succeed in the
Mhm.
moment. And that's what I've tried to do,
Mhm.
knowing sometimes I'm going to get a bloody
Mhm.
nose and I'm going to lose a really good
Mhm.
client and I'm going to get rejected. And that's how life goes. Because
Mhm.
tomorrow the sun's going to come up
Right.
with or without me here. The
Mhm.
sun comes up tomorrow.
Mhm. Right. And that is so true. And part of it too is if everything was wonderful, we wouldn't know it was wonderful, right? We have to have those setbacks and those down times to then recognize the good times.
Exactly.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm with you on this. I think resilience
Mhm.
is part of the life's learning
Mhm.
lessons.
Mhm.
And you could buy books about resilience,
Mhm.
and you could watch phrases from experts of
Mhm.
over the last 100 years on resilience and how they
Mhm.
defined it, or the one-liner that they have for resilience, which there are
Mhm.
plenty of those out there.
Mhm.
But on the personal side, I think it's getting punched in the nose,
Mhm.
knocked down to the ground,
Mhm.
and getting back up, wiping off your nose, and
Mhm.
saying, I'm still going to move forward.
Mhm. Right.
And maybe you need to
Mhm.
change your direction a little bit,
Mhm. Mhm.
but you're going to move forward.
Right. And I love that you don't use the word failure because to me, so many people get stuck when they have a failure. It's like, oh, this was a bad product decision. We're not going to do anything else. And failure tends to be kind of a stopping point for people, as opposed to, okay, this is a setback. Now what are we going to learn from it? And sometimes it's that you learn, well, ding-a-ling, don't do that again, right? That I touched the hot stove. Okay, well, don't do it again. But how many times? Sometimes we touch the hot stove again. Did it cool off? No. But yeah, it's how we look at it. And I'm looking at your website right now for a brighter day, and it says storms don't last forever. There will always be a brighter day. And I love that concept. And unfortunately for teenagers, that's hard, right? That it's really hard for them to think about it's going to get better because God love teenagers. They're so self-absorbed. You talk about being in the moment. And so I love that you help them and their families to see you can go forward.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah. And the charity, in its primary mission, creating resources, it's trying to
Mhm.
stop teen suicide.
Mhm.
And everything we do is trying to stop teen suicide.
Right.
And I can't tell you that we are stopping one or three or five or 10
Mhm.
we're stopping it,
Mhm.
which is really
Yeah,
good.
and I'm sure you never even know about
No, and
many of the
people
ones
call
you
me,
stop.
I
Yep.
get calls
Mhm.
almost weekly from
Mhm.
parents
Mhm.
saying, "Can you help me?" I
Mhm.
sometimes get calls from parents saying, "My child already took their life and I'm calling you
Mhm.
because I don't know what to do."
Right.
And
Yeah.
then we get together
Mhm.
on Zoom or
Mhm.
at a coffee
Mhm.
shop and it's a cry fest.
Mhm.
So, but it's too late.
Mhm.
And so we're really trying to stop that. But
Mhm.
it's so important to just help and be the helper.
Mhm.
It's funny. It's not funny, but my dad, again, being that Depression era,
Mhm.
World War II generation
Mhm.
person, well, what a couple phrases he imparted with me because he lived these phrases
Mhm.
were that your number one job as a father is to take care of your family.
Mhm.
And that's involved two ways.
Mhm.
Financially, help them
Mhm.
out and make sure
Mhm.
they're able to
Right.
live their
Mhm.
life and you don't screw it up. You've given them the tools to live their life. Obviously, and that's different.
Mhm.
One family gives them, millions, and another they're just giving them $10 a day, and that's what you can afford. But you're helping them. And the other one is you're in charge of the safety and security of your family. You are the man of the family. And my father was a big thing to always be the man of the family. And I know that's sexist and not politically correct to say that. But, if my wife was making $500,000 a year, which she didn't, but if she did, my father would have said, no matter what I did for a living, your role as the man is to make 550.
Right. You got to do that one step better.
Yeah, because you're the man.
Right.
And I know we don't live in
that was that, but that was that generation.
Yeah. So I get it. But you're in charge of the safety and security of your family. So with my son taking his life, I really struggled that I failed. Because even though it was a college, and of course, how are you going to protect your child away?
Right.
But I failed because he took his life. I did not handle the safety and security of my son. Then granted, we were the last ones to know he was depressed. And it wasn't until the very end that we saw a big change in him. But that's a failure. I try not to dwell on that. I don't want to say that's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson because I have twins that are 31 and I'm probably overprotective of them. And I can't do a thing about it because one
right. It's just going to be that way.
The Europe, can't do a thing. But it's a failure and you've got to rise above it because it's always there now. But rise above it.
Right. Right. And I'm not a parent. And I can't imagine losing a child. I mean, I remember one time my mother told me when it was probably a classmate of mine died. She said a parent should never outlive their children.
Never.
I mean, that was just, that was that, but, and it is something that, as you said, you move forward, you don't get over it. I mean, I honestly think you learn how to go on.
It's an adaptive thing.
Right. And it doesn't matter if they took their own life or if there was an accident or an illness.
Doesn't matter.
A parent shouldn't outlive their children.
My mother used to have a phrase when she was disciplining us when we were young, and I was not a good listener. I was one of those teens that was, I was fairly rebellious, not in an evil way.
Right. You were energetic.
Energetic. Probably in today's world, they might have given me Ritalin. Who knows?
Yeah. That's energy.
Football probably changed my life because as soon as I could tackle people, I stopped hitting people, which was great. But she had this phrase when she was saying no to us that I objected to it. It was like, better you cry than I cry.
Right.
Yeah. And that's true.
Right. And it is amazing how much you learn from the sometimes very short lives. When I was, I don't even think I could drive. So I would have been, 14, 15 years old. A young kid that I babysat for passed away. Now, this was not unexpected. He had heart conditions. Babysitting for this child was terrifying because there were times I had to give him digitalis. But his parents trusted me, and I think I probably didn't know any better, but they truly had a celebration of life for him. And, and they said, we will remember him every day. They said, but we also remember what we learned from him. And, I remember being told that we could not wear dark, somber colors to this service, right? We were all supposed to wear bright colors because he loved rainbows. And, and so we learned from that. But yeah, it's there. I honestly don't know of anything that would be worse than a parent losing a child. I mean, it's one thing to lose your spouse, to lose your parents. My parents are gone, your parents are gone, but that's life, right? My dad was,
I don't want to say it's preventable. The medical side, I'm not a doctor. And even running this charity, I'm not a PhD or a counselor. I'm a parent who suffered a loss and is probably an expert on preventing suicide and teen depression from a parent's point of view. And there are a lot of things, because the world has changed and the communication has become the cell phone, and we look in rather than out as a society. And, instead of you hanging around friends, you're looking on your phone and spending hours looking on your phone or Kindle. Now you're reading on your, everything is inward rather than outward on that. It's changed society and it's made us worse as a society
Right.
affecting teens more
Mhm.
than adults.
Mhm.
But we can change that. We give
Mhm.
tools to help you change
Mhm.
that and to help teens and to help
Mhm.
parents
Mhm.
because we want you not to suffer a loss.
Right.
But you
Mhm.
have to, as a parent and as a human
Mhm.
being, you have to take action too.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, it is, you know, you are their parent. I've had people say, "Oh, I want to be their friend." No, no, you're their friend when they're in their 40s. Now you be their parent.
Right.
And it is something, I work with people who have cancer, and that's now I am like this all the time. I have cancer. I have 3 different types of cancer that I have dealt with in 10 years. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And I mean, I'm still in active treatment. I go every 21 days. Do I have bad days? Yes, of course. But I pick myself up and I go on. But I also know that for some people, they can't. And one of the things I tell people is sometimes the absolute strongest thing you can do is to ask for help. And whoever you're asking it from, maybe it's clergy, maybe it is your parents, maybe it's a counselor, whatever it is. Sometimes it really is the absolute strongest thing you can do to ask for help. And unfortunately, we still kind of have a lot of stigma in our society that saying, "Hey, I need help," is not a good thing. No, it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, raise your hand and just
Mhm.
don't be afraid. I'm a big
Mhm.
now. I'm going to tell you that not everybody can do that.
Right.
I went to a couple help places. I mean,
Mhm.
a couple counseling sessions after his death,
Mhm.
and then I gave them all to my
Mhm.
his mom.
Mhm.
Um, and then I went back later on to somebody
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
My son would not go get counseling
Mhm.
because he said, "Dad, I'm not going to go. Only weak people get counseling."
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, and so we live in a world.
Mhm.
You know, it's funny. So counselors, I've done some research on this, and
Mhm.
there was a podcast on counseling that was just I
Mhm.
can't remember the name of it, but it was amazing.
Mhm.
And he said here's how counselors should operate, and they use the letter H.
Mhm.
And the first thing there, and here are the 3 things counselors do.
Mhm.
In the U.S., they are trained to hear,
Mhm.
so they make you hear what the other person's saying.
Right. They're
Sometimes you
telling
just
their
need
story. Mhm.
sometimes, unfortunately, they don't do this.
Mhm.
They need to help,
Mhm.
but they don't help
Right.
because they don't want to do it for you. They want you to
Mhm.
do it for
Mhm.
yourself. And that's not always fair. I need to
Mhm.
tell you right now, Deb, you need to take this action right now. And I wish
Mhm.
counselors would do that,
Mhm.
but they're not trained to do that.
Mhm.
And the third way counselors aren't trained is to hug.
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't need to do anything but just hug somebody
Right.
and make them feel better about
Mhm.
themselves,
Mhm.
about what they're doing,
Mhm.
instead of talking about it.
Mhm.
So they're here and they talk about it.
Mhm.
So if you are the kind of person who needs the other two,
Mhm.
the help
Mhm.
and the hug,
Mhm.
and counseling doesn't work for you no matter how
Mhm.
much counseling you get, and
Mhm.
you can get a lifetime of counseling, it won't make a
Mhm.
difference.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily know who you are.
Mhm.
That's not a fair statement to say, "Well, I just
Mhm.
need a hug," but that could be as simple as
Mhm.
it is.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. Sometimes just that physical contact with someone is what makes a big difference. And it's kind of strange. Like I was very ill at one point and in the hospital, and I needed, I physically needed to hold my husband's hand. Now that's not us. I mean, we're not, but I needed that. And part of it was it kept me there. There was something that made me think that it will keep me there and not, and but and so yeah, it's recognizing what we need for ourselves and then, being able to ask for it.
Well, for a cancer patient and a cancer survivor, you have an
Mhm.
amazing attitude.
I'm a tough old bird.
You are.
um and but at the same point, yeah, it's a challenge. And whatever it is that we're going through, and I tell people, one of the biggest words that I use a lot is grace. Have grace with yourself, have grace with others, because you don't know what they're going through. But give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to say, I'm having a really bad day and I'm going to go take a nap.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I call that's a great phrase. And I
Mhm.
call that, Deb, giving yourself permission.
Right.
Give yourself permission to do whatever is
Right.
happening,
hmm
knowing you're not perfect.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. That comes back to that word perfect, right? Somehow we have expected that we're to be perfect. And I think that might be our generation, right? Like I'm at the end of baby boomer also. And we somehow think that we have to be perfect. Well, there ain't nothing that's perfect. And so stop aiming for that.
yeah,
Um,
you're doing great. You're giving good advice out, and
mhm,
I love what you're doing. We've talked about passion, we
mhm,
talked about travel, we talked about
mhm,
business. If you've got passions,
mhm,
and making full
mhm,
circle here of what we talked about,
mhm,
you find that your passion
mhm,
will drive you
mhm.
to a better place in
Right.
life, happiness,
Mhm, mhm,
food,
mhm,
travel,
mhm,
entertainment, your
mhm,
company, whatever your
mhm,
passion is. If you start
mhm,
tomorrow thinking
mhm,
I'm going to enjoy this today,
mhm,
right
mhm,
now, no matter what's going on in your life,
mhm,
you might finish your day with a smile
mhm.
because you're living your passion.
Right. I love it. And see, I can tell that you are a podcaster yourself because you know how to wrap things up. So unfortunately, it is time to wrap it up. So first, tell us, if somebody says, okay, I'm, thinking about what the next step is from a financial, perspective, how do they find you and what are the services that Prosperity Financial Group provides?
Great. And my question for you also, Deb, is you've got 1,000 podcasts. When am I going to see that can of Coca-Cola or a bag of Lay's for advertising behind you? When does that happen?
I've never monetized my podcast, and I've decided that on purpose not to do that. But I know a lot of people who do, and I live in the land of Coca-Cola, so I should just trot myself down there or Home Depot, right?
Anyway, so for the financial side, we are a full service financial advisory
Mhm,
firm and we are fiduciaries,
mhm,
and we're fee only. So
mhm,
we help people reach their financial goals,
mhm,
full service planning type of firm and
mhm,
fiduciary services.
mhm,
It's Elliot, Elliot, two L's
mhm,
and one T, at prosperityfinancialgroup.com.
mhm,
The website is prosperityfinancialgroup.com. My office number is 925-314-8503. Reach out for
mhm,
the charity, a
mhm,
brighter day.info. If you could pass that along, you
mhm,
want to join the mailing list, you just want to get great resources
mhm,
because you're a parent or an aunt or uncle, even a teen, and you want to get free
mhm.
services. We have that too.
Right.
It's a brighter day.info, Elliot at a brighter
Mhm,
day.info. And my cell there is 510-206-1103.
mhm.
I'm on the West Coast. Please don't call me at 3 in the morning because I get those too.
Mhm,
But we're trying, no matter what, if you're on your left hand or your right hand,
mhm,
if we can help you in some way
mhm,
reach financial goals, reach retirement goals, do a better job in your retirement
mhm,
with your family foundation or whatever is important to you,
mhm,
uh, or personally, you've got those struggles in your
mhm,
family and you're looking for some answers.
mhm,
Either way, your left hand or right hand,
mhm.
we're out there for you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. And I really cannot wait until we talk again when you started the new business. That's going to be so much fun to be able to hear about that. In our show notes, we do have your LinkedIn profile and also both of the company websites, the nonprofit and the company one. So people have that information. This really has been such a wide ranging conversation, right? I tell people you never know what you're going to get with me. I think I would have been one of those Ritalin kids also. I tend to squirrel, right? Or as a friend of mine put it, stop saying squirrel because that kind of has a negative thought. Butterfly. Oh, see, and look, I moved so much my camera went out of focus. I go after butterflies. And butterflies are fun, right? But until the next time that we chat again, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I think I'm going to leave you with my mother's thoughts once again, and that is you can do better today than yesterday and better tomorrow than today. That's resilience, that's passion, that's living life with passion and understanding that tomorrow's a better day.
I love it. I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having such a fun and interesting and thoughtful, right? Let's think about a lot of this discussion with Elliot Kallen. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.